recorded, drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets. When I'm performing, never boring, now you can't afford it. Champagne Perrier, finish friends on my face. Looking like I'm from the deep, these no Cartiers. Pockets deep, 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 bro. I can make it in my seat, bro. Do you, I'm doing me, bro. Making noise, use a beat, bro. Whoa, I press the button and the doors go off like, whoa. That money clip us now, the new now looks like, whoa. Upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Neighborhood on the scene, neighborhood on the strip. Neighborhood be the name, neighborhood no crib. Neighborhood that's me, neighborhood that's Nick. Neighborhood do the dance, neighborhood do the deal. Okay, thought I'd never make it like no way. I'm the real deal, no role play. My days off, that's no days. No, I hustle hard, young rose. E be the shooter, that's cocaine. Those on the deals, that's brose. Got no pay, on no say. Okay, this the news, tell them read it.
Y'all, welcome to Get Hired. I appreciate you all joining. I know it's between football, evidently, but listen, you're in for a great treat. I'm Rob Humphrey. This is Get Hired from the Do Work Massive. I've got 5 of my favorite people out there who have been inspirations in my life, helped me get to be the #1 salesperson at LinkedIn, helped me to accomplish all of my goals. These are my inner circle folks. I'm going to be bringing you live some of the best career advice you're going to get. So get ready to get hired, get inspired, get motivated. Up first, I got Gabe Lamelli. Gabe, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you joining.
Big Rob, what's going on?
Not much, man. You know, listen, man, I know you're out there, in San Jose and Silicon Valley.
That's
and
right.
I want to tell you, I'm super grateful for you joining, man. Gabe Lamelli is one of the most awesome people you're going to meet. He's a creative video producer at LinkedIn. This guy went from community college to getting his degree at Stanford and a master's degree at that. On top of that, he does some of the coolest stuff you're ever going to see. Check out his video music recipe YouTube channel. But most importantly, we're here to help a lot of people, Gabe. And you're going to talk about information interviews. I want you to hit it.
That's right. That's right. And that was an amazing intro, man. I'm going to have to bring you to work with me because I'm going to need that for every single meeting. But yeah, like you said, I actually used to teach at Stanford University at the School of Design. And we taught a course called Designing Your Life. And I got to give a shout out to Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. They wrote this book. This all the curriculum that we used to teach. I didn't write it. They did. I'm in the acknowledgement section, though. And when we talk about designing your life, it's such a hot topic for people all over the age range because everybody wants to know what to do next and what they can do to design it. So there's many tools, strategies, and steps that you can take. But today, I just want to talk about my favorite one that I've taught many students and many professionals, but also one that I use in my own personal life that's opened up many possibilities and many opportunities. So the biggest thing that I want you to walk away with really is that you don't have to have all the steps figured out to design your life. All you need to know is the next step. If you could just figure out that next step, when you get there, then you figure out the next step after that, and you keep building and you keep grinding, you keep doing work. So today, I just want to talk to you about what an information interview is, how to do it, and how it's helped me and some of the cool stories I've heard about that. So an information interview, well, let's talk about what it's not. It's not a job interview. An information interview, when you get together with a professional or a contact or a contact somebody referred you to, you don't want to sit there and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, or can you hook me up with an opportunity or anything like that? Because as soon as you do that, the power dynamic shifts a little bit, and then it becomes like an interview. And then all of a sudden, while they're talking to you, they're going to treat you like a candidate. We don't have any job openings right here, or you're not really qualified for the position, or they're just going to be judging you. It's not that. All it is, it's a conversation that you're having with somebody. So think about it as if you're kind of like a treasure hunter, and you're out there and you're trying to figure out like the coolest things about the professions and professionals of people in your network and people that you want to meet, and what kind of cool opportunities you can find underneath there. It's a great way to test out an industry that you want to go to. Let's say you want to be a lawyer. Well, before you apply or go to law school, you can actually talk to somebody and say, let me have a 30-minute conversation with them. And within that 30-minute conversation, you're like, wow, I really want to be a lawyer after talking to this person. Or on the flip side, you can say, hey, I'm glad I talked to this person because that's definitely what I don't want to do. And you just spend 30 minutes talking to them, not 4 years at law school or anything like that. So anyway, how do you do it? Well, many of you are probably already good at networking. You have some network, or you have some people that can hook you up with like a friend of a friend or a colleague, and you actually get like an email or a phone number or some contact information. If you're anything like me, that's when I froze up normally. I'm like, okay, I have an email in LinkedIn, or I have an email, but then what do I do next? Well, I'm going to give you the steps verbatim on what to say and how to land an information interview with almost anybody. So let's check out this example right here that I have for you. This is the way you can write a message. Listen to this. So I'm writing an email. It goes like this. My name is Gabe. Let's say I'm trying to get to Rob. Hey, Rob, my name is Gabe. I'm a Delta College student, and I'm currently searching for career opportunities. I studied psychology and media, and I have deep experience in video production. I truly believe I can be a strong asset to your organization. I've attached my 2-page resume for your reference. Would you happen to know if there are any job openings at your company? Thank you. Pretty legit, right? Sounds pretty standard, probably like something that you've read before, something short, concise. There's only one problem with that message, though. The only problem is that message is complete trash. Please don't ever send that to anybody. You know, I'm over here talking about what I do. Do you have any opportunities? Here's my 2-page resume. This is what I did. Can you imagine if I was walking down the street and I stopped a stranger and I said, hey, let me tell you about myself, where I'm from, what I do, what I'm interested in, and how I can be an asset to your organization. They'd be like, hey, man, get away from me. I don't even know who you are. What's going on? So what ends up happening is, like, most people won't even open up that message. And if they do, they'll just say, I'm not even going to respond to that. They'll just leave you on red. Now, let me show you the right way to do it. And this is a template that I've used many times, and I've at least got it read, and people hit me back, and I've got many interviews like this. It goes like this. Sup, Rob? My name is Gabe. Jeremy Walker gave me your name and number, and he said that you were the person I really need to talk to. I looked you up on LinkedIn. Your professional experience sounds fascinating. I'm a college student or a young professional interested in your field, and I'd like a chance to hear about your work experience and your organization's activity. May I buy you a cup of coffee, social distance, of course, or meet up for a virtual conference for about 30 minutes so I can have some time to discuss your working career? I would love to have a chance to hear about your story and learn from your experience. Now, you see the difference in that message right there? See, the first message was all about me. Me. This is what I do, my resume, this and that. This message is all about them. Now, I want to break that message down a little bit. So a couple of things. I said, what's up, Rob? My name is Gabe. Jeremy Walker gave me your number. I mentioned that we have somebody in common. We have a mutual friend or mutual connection. Totally cool. That's point number one. Then I say, I looked you up on LinkedIn. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, I intentionally looked you up. You know what I'm saying? This is not like a template or an email blast that I'm just sending to everybody. No, I looked you up. I took the time. I maybe even checked out your social media, saw that you like to go snowboarding. This is that. Totally cool to Facebook and Instagram creep on for this particular situation. But they know that I intentionally looked them up. And then I said this, your professional experience sounds fascinating. If somebody tells me that I sound fascinating and my experience sounds fascinating, I'll go like this. Hold up. You think I'm fascinating? What a coincidence. Because I think I'm fascinating too. We already got so much in common. And then I say, I'm a Delta College student, interested. I'm just a student interested. I'm not looking for a job. I don't need you to do this or do that for me. I'm just interested. I'm curious. This and that. And then lastly, I say, I only need 30 minutes to hear about your story. Now, what's the number one topic that everybody loves to talk about? Themselves. So I just said, hey, we have a friend in common. I looked you up intentionally. I think you're fascinating. I'm just interested in what you do, and I need 30 minutes to talk about how great you are and hear your story. If I don't even know who this person is, but I get a message sent to me like that, guess what? My schedule just opened up 30 minutes to talk about myself to this person. Boom. So I land almost, I would say 90% of the information interviews that I send out, just a message like that. And it's a way to just land a meeting with somebody that I'm interested in. It could be a brand new field that has nothing to do with what I'm doing. And I just want to say, hey, I want to learn about it. And when I'm there, when you finally land the information interview, come with your questions, ask them everything. And I guarantee you something happens almost all the time. When I'm in the information interview, about 15 to 20 minutes in, the person I'm asking, I've already got my questions. I'm all ears. I'm curious and everything. They say, hey, you know what? Enough about me, Gabe. I've been talking about myself this entire time. Why don't you tell me about yourself? Boom, right there. That's when you come in like a hunter. You say, hey, I'm just interested in media and tech. And, you know, I'm brand new to the space. And I'm just trying to figure out, you know, how I can learn more about it, see if there's any opportunities. Right there, almost never fails. They say, you know what? You need to talk to my teammate or my colleague, or I'm going to hook you up with my director. Or I just found out that this department in my job is looking for an intern, or they have a brand new role open that hasn't even hit the mark. Did you know that 80% of all opportunities don't even go onto a website? They don't even get posted. So this is a way that you could get into industries or get into departments and be there before anybody else is there. So I do this all the time. Now, it helps me learn about people. I even got a job offer one time, and I wasn't even looking for a job. I was just trying to see what was going on, but I didn't take it. But it was nice to know. And I also met a lot of new friends. Now I've been doing this since 2014, from grad school to my next job to my agency. I used to land sales like this when I was an entrepreneur, and now at my job at LinkedIn, I still do it inside of LinkedIn. And this is how I meet several people from all over different departments, and collaboration opportunities pop up. So in closing, I just want to remind you that this is a simple tool for you to uncover hidden opportunities. And if you try to get at least one information interview per week, I promise you, within the next 2 months, you'll have new opportunities and new steps that you can take action on right now.
This is really great advice on information interviews. There is a lot of questions in the feed, so many I can't even keep track of them. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of really good ideas. One of them is, you know, can we post these examples for later? And Gabe, you were good enough to share a couple of these examples. I'm going to post everything in the event page that you're watching, all the links, so you could follow Gabe, and all the links to the stuff everyone's talking about, even some examples. So great question. Keep the questions coming. Gabe, question for you. Yeah. If you are when you go ahead and start a message to someone to get this informational interview, what's the how like formal you got to be? Dear or whatever. Hey, what's the right way to do that? A lot of students and a lot of young people in particular get tripped up on this.
Yeah, so this is an information interview, right? Like I said, it's not a job interview, so it doesn't have to be dear or dear so-and-so or whatever. Whatever you feel comfortable with. You could just start with the name. Rob, my name is Gabe, so-and-so. Hey, Rob, whatever. You can fill them out. What I like to do is I like to do a little bit of research. I will look them up on Facebook. I'll look them up on Instagram. I'll go track down their Twitter. I'll see, and I'll get a vibe for what they are. And it's actually a solid question, but you can never go wrong, especially if you just tell them that you're fascinated about them. Like, they're going to be open to talking to you.
You're absolutely right. Gabe, thanks for joining. I can't wait to connect with you soon, hopefully in person. Be well, be safe. Thanks for joining the Get Hired live stream, man.
Right on, bro.
Yo, so that was Gabe. Gabe is really awesome. I've got 4 other people coming up. I've got Emily, Kim, Lauren, and Justin rounding out things. But a couple things you got to know. If you have questions for these folks, put them in the feed. Also, a little thing that maybe you don't know. I don't even know if I should say this. I'm a recovering recruiter. I spent a lot of time hiring a lot of people, and I did it the old school way, and then got in the tech industry. So a lot of my recruiter friends are on here, and I've got a couple special surprises as well. But there's a lot of people on this feed right now that are actually hiring, in addition to the people looking to get hired. Speaking of which, let's bring up the next guest, Emily Gabrian. I met her in Cambridge, Mass. Emily, thanks for joining the feed.
Thank you so much for having me. As also a recovering recruiter, I am so excited about the advice that Gabe just offered.
100%. So listen, Emily, I want you to take us through running into challenges, being grateful for those challenges. You've helped me personally a lot of times sort of get to the next step, even when things are looking bad. And I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for the time we spent hiring all those people for Rock Band 2 at Harmonix Music Systems. You were over the corner here in Cary, North Carolina with Epic Games, hiring people for Fortnite. And you are just an awesome person to know. And now you have a whole new career being a guide and session leader. We're going to give you some more information on Emily. But Emily, take it away.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk today about the mindset that we're in when we're going through a lot of different transitions. And one of the things that I think is really important is learning how to be grateful for the challenges. Obviously, hopefully we're grateful for everything, but in particular, I want to focus on gratitude for the challenges, because as people who are seeking something, a job, a career, or just pursuing our passions, that gratitude is something that can help carry us through the more difficult times. And there's a whole bunch of science behind what I'm talking about. Google's your friend if you have specific questions. I'm not going to cite resources, but there's a little bit of psychology and sociology in there too. So in my career personally, working across nonprofit arts, the tech industry, the video game industry, and now as a celebrant and a speaker, I faced a lot of challenges. Not only that, but I've been with people as they were facing challenges. And I think that it's one thing that we all share, and having the right mindset to squeeze every lesson and every, I guess, good thing that we can from those experiences will help, I think, propel us forward. I know that for me, some of the challenges that I've faced in my life, be it through difficult people that I've worked with, overscoped projects, impossible deadlines, or in my role as a celebrant, writing and officiate memorial services. These are things that have taught me a lot about who I am, what matters to me, and how these experiences can help me see the other side of a challenge. So studies actually show that no experience, no matter how challenging, is either all good or all bad. So even in the example of, I know that we're not necessarily talking about natural disasters here, but even in the example of something like a natural disaster or the loss of a loved one, while we may be experiencing pain, the truth is that it also is, other feelings are present, feelings of either love or goodwill or even gratitude. And so we'll talk a little bit about how gratitude can allow us to be present with all of those things. And so why gratitude and not just some other hokey positive thinking solution? Gratitude, I think, has a few awesome components. One, it allows us to be present with what's happening now. Right? We can deal with the past and we can set goals for the future, but in order to set good goals for the future, sort of like Gabe was saying, we have to know what just the next step is. We have to be present with where we are and know what tools we're working with now. Also, gratitude helps you understand what's important to you, right? Through that reflective exercise of being thankful for something, you realize what really matters. And also, it strengthens relationships, right? Gratitude has a lot to do with communication, both how you talk to yourself and how you experience other people. Gratitude is highly, highly tied to job satisfaction. I don't think you can find one person who doesn't want to be thanked, right? But also, just an experience of gratitude allows you to approach situations with a certain sense of humility and focus that I think helps us be more successful, be good collaborators, be good partners in all different types of relationships. So it's about something that's happening both internally and something that I think changes our external environment. Why apply it to challenges? The good news is that challenges are temporary. So like I said, let's go ahead and squeeze every opportunity that we can out of these inevitable experiences. Like I said, I've faced plenty of challenges myself. I've also been present with people who are facing challenges. And some of the things that I've learned are that they can be as valuable as the wins. Right. And if you think about like a film or some of your favorite stories, the hero is always facing some sort of challenge, right? They're facing some inevitable odds. And what if at the end of it, they were like, well, okay, that was tough, so I'm just going to give up, right? That story sucks. You don't want to read that story. And so we shouldn't want to live that story either. We need tools to help move us forward constantly rather than letting the challenges be a blocker, something that's going to stop us. And so it's a way of owning your story. because they're going to happen. So what are you going to do about it? I'm going to hop actually straight into an example that I think we can all relate to. And that is applying for a job. And in this case, a job that you didn't get. I think that sometimes, we can be in those situations and we're like, all right, well, I don't know what there is to be grateful for about that, because in this situation, I've poured my heart and soul into putting together a resume. I feel like I executed everything flawlessly. I took a bunch of advice and I still didn't get the job. I even went in and interviewed. Well, I've come up with this acronym, and I'll flash the slide at the end, but I'm really enjoying this interface here right now. But the acronym is FRAME, and it stands for feel, reflect, assess, move, and express. So feel is going to be the first part, right? Say you didn't get this job. The first thing that you're going to need to do is probably have the reaction that you're having. Maybe you're going to feel disappointed, angry, betrayed even. Maybe a good friend referred you for a job and you didn't get it. Suppressing these emotions, right, and being, sunny sunshine isn't actually going to benefit you. So you're going to need to feel it, right? Suppressing emotions and ignoring them it's going to be less healthy for you, your body, your mentality. I'm not saying that you need to sit and sulk and shut down your story, right? Or let it stop you, but learn how to just be present with what's going on. And maybe one of the things that you're going to find out is that you're actually kind of relieved you didn't get the job, right? When you're taking that kind of personal inventory, you get to understand, well, wait, why is it that I actually feel better? Maybe that job wasn't as good of a fit as I thought it was, or, maybe there's something else I can take away from this. And this brings me into the reflection stage. Don't just take it personally, but take inventory, right? This is the stage where we look at ourselves and we go, okay, what can I learn from the way that I performed? Was there anything I could have done differently? Was there anything I could have done better? Maybe you crushed the phone interview, but you felt ill prepared for another aspect. And you go, okay, you know what? I did rush the resume. Now I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to resolve that process. So we've reflected on our own process, and now we're going to go to the assess process. For that, we look at the situation itself. Was it a really competitive job? Were the odds really tough? Where is the opportunity in this challenge is a good thing to ask yourself. Get creative. Maybe you met someone who was incredible in that process, and now you have a new model for where you want to go. Maybe you heard multiple interviewers talk about a problem that they're trying to solve, and you and a buddy have been thinking, we're going to start this side business, because if this one business has this problem, maybe we can actually serve other businesses. So maybe there's another type of opportunity that's emerging. But if you don't take a moment to look at it, it could pass you by. Maybe you realize that you met really only white men over 50. No offense to anybody, but maybe you want a crowd of more diverse voices, and now you know more about what you're looking for in your next step. So now that brings us to move, right? This is the part where we get to own our experience by taking action and not letting the challenge stop us. If you realize you phoned in the application, get somebody to review it. If you need an accountability buddy to apply to 10 more jobs, do that. If you need to email or connect with some awesome person or take some informational interviews to help you understand better about what to do next, email someone for feedback, go through that process. But most importantly, use whatever it is to again, help you find whatever success is for you. Do the things that are in your power to make that challenge worth it. And then the last thing is express. Thank the people who helped you. Say thank you to anybody who looked at your resume, referred you. Thank the interviewers. And then don't forget to thank yourself. Be proud of the work that you did. You did something hard, and you put a lot of time and mental energy into this. And I'll tell you from personal experience, you're a lot more likely to do hard things when you know that you can get out on the other side, when you feel a sense of self-gratitude and you're able to have a sense of self-worth even during those challenges. And gratitude is one way that we can do that. So it's about acknowledging that nobody's going through this alone, right? But I can still be grateful for the work that I've put in. So I'm heading to the final word. So hopefully you guys will have a couple questions, but I think it's magic to pursue a passion. I think that being at the edge of one career or one transition is probably some of the most incredible times in our lives. I've talked to so many people who've reached a goal and looked back at the difficult road, and they said, what I didn't realize was that that was the best time of my life, was getting to this point. And so I, challenge all of us to not take any of that for granted, to be present with what's happening, to find gratitude in all the situations. And I hope that whatever you face, you'll be able to say, this is hard, but I know I can do it, and be better and more satisfied and more successful on the other side. So thank you.
I'm grateful for you, Emily, and that was a super dope talk. Thank you.
I'm grateful for you too. I forgot to flash my slides, so I'll hand that to you.
Slides. We don't need any slides from you, buddy. But we've got a few questions. One from one of my favorite people, Shane Humphrey, literally in the other room, getting a chance to spend a lot of time with him. And he's echoing a lot of the comments that are coming from YouTube and Twitch. Yes, we're streaming this there as well. I figured, let's see what happens, right? But a lot of people who are younger, in particular, Emily, they're like, I've applied, like you've said, but they're like trying to prove themselves. What's your best advice, putting on your sort of old recruiter hat, for people that are young, trying to get into particularly creatively entrepreneurial pursuits without really any work experience? What's your quick wisdom there?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think every situation depends on what you're looking for, right? But one of the things that you can best do is know your strengths, know what you're really good at. I think that sometimes we can be tempted to cast a net a little too wide. And I think that starting with what you're really good at and specializing in that and finding jobs where that's highly valued is a great way to gain additional experience and additional specialization so that you can begin qualifying for other areas. Also, look at small companies. I will say this a lot. People know there's brand recognition for larger companies, but look to small companies and see, because most of the time people are wearing, multiple hats, not as many people are attracted to them. So start with your area and find out where you can be an asset.
Yeah, I mean, we way back in the day, we ran into that when we were recruiting. People would be like, who the hell is our Harmonix Music Systems? Well, it turns out you may have heard of Guitar Hero or Rock Band or of many of the games, just like Epic. People don't know Epic Games necessarily makes those tools. So, Emily, there's so many questions. I think what I want to do here, because there's obviously no script, is probably bring you back on at the end and maybe everybody, and answer a lot of these amazing questions that are coming in. But I'm going to say goodbye for now, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Of course. So a lot of great questions here, everybody. Keep the questions coming. These folks really know how to get it done. They've crafted careers that not only exciting, but they're in line with their passions. So we're going to get into a little bit more depth, but there's a couple questions in the feed about internships and all this type of stuff, and we're definitely going to get into it. But I want to bring up my friend Kim Ricards, who also works at LinkedIn. What's up, teammate?
What's going on, Rob?
Good. Kim, you also have a podcast, which I was on, and I was so honored to be on it. Give everyone the quick hit on this podcast you've been putting down.
Yeah, so the podcast is Less Man and Feast podcast, and I've been able to talk to pretty dope people like yourself and just tell the untold stories of people like us that are just out here doing it, that don't always get a chance to be in the spotlight. And I'm happy to bring those stories to others because it's motivating and it's inspiring people to, as you would say, do work.
Yep. So you got to do work, but you also definitely have to manifest. And, I got to say, I used to be like manifestation, like this is such bullshit. But probably a couple of years ago, I started really thinking about what it meant. You're an expert on this topic, and I follow you on Instagram and listen to your podcast every episode that comes out. But I want to talk about it. It's a little bit buzzwordy, and I want to know what really the 3 ways people, as they embark on their career or retweak their life, how can they go about, manifesting?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say is that manifest is manifestation, manifest, I say manifest, but at the same time, all of these things are truly a matter of owning it, right? So you have to know that you have to get it out your head. So the first thing is to write it down. a lot of people don't realize that there's power in written word. So once you have it written, you can actually go back to see that you were able to actually do that thing. A quick story is that a professor of mine in college challenged us to write down a list of companies we wanted to work for. And then he said to list the why. I don't remember my why for a lot of the companies, but I remember writing down one of the companies I wanted to work for was MTV. And fast forward 2 years later, I actually had the opportunity of working there. So there's power in writing it down and then looking back to be like, wow, I actually did that, you know? The second thing I would say is to see yourself doing it. So you can't just write it down and go away from it. You have to actually see yourself doing it because you want to make sure that as you are looking forward, you're actually like, yeah, that's where I really want to be. And the last thing I'd say is to take action because you can't just write it, see it, and then don't do anything. You actually have to action it. It doesn't just fall out the sky. Yeah.
And there's nowhere that's more true than like any kind of side hustle pursuits, which this is the Do Work podcast and the Get Hired live stream. You and I had talked about it a year ago almost when the pandemic started getting going. I was like, how are you so freaking positive? And I gotta say, like, it's definitely changed the way it happens for sure. So we've talked about this, but for the audience, like, share how you actually break through. Like, it's definitely like not okay. Yeah, you're gonna just do it. Like, what's your secret?
Well, I don't think there are any secrets, Rob. I think the real key for me is owning how I feel. Right. So there's some days where I'm like, I don't feel motivated. And I don't, right? And then there are other days where I'm basically like, you know what? I have this boost of energy. I'm just going to push through and get things done. But I think more than anything is being gracious. You have to give yourself grace and you have to be flexible because as we all know, no one expected to be in a pandemic last year, but we were, right? So because we were there, we had to actually do something while there and we had to adjust accordingly and we had to shift a bit, right? So being flexible, adjusting timelines, being realistic is another thing that a lot of people don't give enough credit to, but just being able to look to say, you know what, if this never happens tomorrow, I'm okay if it happens 2 weeks from now. I'm okay if it happens a year from now. Just, again, adjust with time.
And Kim, for your podcast, you've got how many episodes now?
Oh man, I think we're up to episode 33, I think.
Cool. And as you sort of go along that journey, and I love the manifesting, by the way, because if you like search for manifest or you just say that word, it doesn't sound as interesting. So I love that you did that. It's an amazing brand and one of the top podcasts. But, I guess in terms of like keeping on going, whether you're getting rejected for jobs or whatever the case may be, what's the number one sort of piece of wisdom or the number one manifestation quote that you have to share as we wrap up your section?
Yeah, for sure. So I like what Audrey Hepburn says. And what she says is nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible. And the reality is that whatever we're doing, you have to believe that it's possible, right? So no matter what the circumstances look like, no matter how many times you're applying and you're not getting the responses that you want, just continue to push and believe that something will come through and something will manifest.
Right on. Kim, very grateful for you joining. Gonna definitely put your information at the end and on the event page. I hope you have an awesome rest of your weekend, and we'll talk during the week. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
So listen, those are three of the most awesome people. I've got a couple people coming up left here. If you've got questions, just put them in the comments section. If you have comments, put those in the comments section too. If you're over 21 and you hear me say the word manifest, just have a shot of your whatever is available given pandemic times. So listen, let's get at it. Next up, I've got Lauren Bean coming in, and I want to tell you about her really quickly. So I did a talk at NC State. I do a lot of talks to students. It's my hobby, right? Did a talk with her, and I met her with the American Marketing Association at North Carolina State University here in Raleigh, where I'm broadcasting from. I was blown away. She asked me, like, what should I be doing on LinkedIn? And given that I've worked there for so long, I said, you should write your way into jobs. She did. She started writing, and it was so awesome. It differentiated herself so much that within just 3 years of graduating college, she's a paid public speaker. She works at one of the top tech companies and just knows how to get shit done. You're going to learn so much from Lauren Bean. Thank you for joining.
Thanks so much for having me, Rob.
I talked you up so much. I don't know how you're going to live up to it, but listen.
I know. I'm done. You know what? That's it.
I know. But listen, everyone fails. Tell us about the power of failure, and thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I'm sure most of you can relate to this, but growing up, we always hear you can do anything and be anything that you want. And I fully believe that. So much so that when I was 6 years old, I wanted to get a game of Candyland that happened to be placed high on a shelf above a really old 20-pound boombox. And me being this stubborn, independent child that I was, decided I'm just going to scale this bookcase past the boombox to get Candyland. As you guys are guessing, the Candyland mission was not accomplished, and the boombox comes tumbling down, falls right on my foot. Don't worry, the boombox was just fine. But I had to go see a doctor the day before my dance recital. And as I'm at the doctor, I'm given the choice. I'm getting a boot on my foot. And the doctor says, you can't dance in the recital tomorrow. And I love dancing. I was so passionate about it. And get back in the car. And my mom gives me the choice. I can either sit out tomorrow and sit in the audience, or I can get on stage and dance with the boot. So I decided to dance through the pain. And I kind of took that notion with me throughout the rest of my life of deciding, we can either go through hard things or we can take the back seat and sit in the audience. And when I entered college, I was, ready to kind of start anew. I didn't really want to blend in as much as I did in high school, but blending in was a lot easier because I realized people don't notice when you mess up when you're blending in. And so I really focused on just graduating and just getting a good job. And a lot of the dreams that I had kind of got pushed to the back burner. And one of those dreams I had was pursuing public speaking, which is crazy because here I am, the girl that likes blending in, and I wanted to pursue something that scares the daylights out of most people. But the first time I realized I wanted to pursue public speaking was I wrapped up my college internship. And at the end of the summer, we did a group project where all of the interns got together and we presented to a couple hundred people in the room, in addition to thousands watching online. And I am sure I was talking like an auctioneer selling a hot ticket item with how fast I was talking during that speech. But when I got done, I realized I caught the public speaking bug. I loved the feeling that I got of achievement, knowing I did something hard. And I realized that when we're pushed outside of our comfort zones, it's really tough to go sit back in the audience. And when we get a taste of something we're good at, it's really hard to return to mediocre. And it was after I wrapped up that presentation that I got a really crazy idea that popped in my head. I wanted to talk at my school's commencement. And let me paint a picture of how crazy that idea actually is. Besides that presentation and a couple group projects in a class, I had never done any form of public speaking. So to want to go from that to speaking to tens of thousands of people was insane. But I went through my senior year of college and that idea kind of kept coming back. First, it was just kind of a blip of a thought, but then it was more of a nagging thought like, hey, remember me? Yeah, I'm still here. And I really couldn't let this dream go. So I started meeting with teachers and faculty advisors, and I'd bug my roommate at 1 a.m. with new ideas for my talk. And then the day finally came to actually audition. And there were so many times that I thought about backing out because frankly, I was terrified of actually failing. I didn't want my friends to see me fail. I didn't want to disappoint my professors. And I didn't know if I actually had what it took to pursue this dream. But there I am on the audition day. And we're practicing in the next room. And then finally, my name gets called and I go in the next room. I take a deep breath and I give my speech. And I'm looking at the judges' faces, trying to get a feel for what they're thinking. And they kind of have small smiles on their faces. I'm like, okay, I actually feel pretty good about this. And we found out a week later who got chosen to speak at commencement. And there I am in May in my cap and gown, sitting in the audience with my friends. And I did not get chosen for the commencement speech. And at first, when I found out, I was crushed. I was upset that I didn't get chosen and all those feelings that you would expect to go through your head. But when I got past that, I was really proud of myself that I even went for it. And I felt fulfilled. And I realized that failing doesn't mean that you're a failure. That one setback is just momentum for that next big leap. And I realized that I was going throughout this college process that just because of that one failure, that public speaking bug didn't just go away. And so there's actually a lot of research to back up this positive mindset shift of realizing that you can do really hard things even when you fail. And there's a study done at MIT where they examined what happens to your brain when you fail and when you succeed. And when you succeed, your brain releases endorphins or feel-good chemicals associated with success. And after several repeated successes, your brain is actually morphed and you become more confident, smarter, and more likely to succeed in the future. And biologists call this the winner effect. On the flip side, when you fail, your brain releases stress mechanisms when you feel like you're under attack. I personally like to call this the pizza effect, as in when you're on a new diet and then you go to the office and people bring pizza and you have a slice and then you go home and you're like, well, crap, I ruined my diet. So I'm just going to have a whole thing of Oreos. Basically, this means that when you feel like you're being crushed by this failure, you're increasing your chances of failing in the future. But it's not just the act of failing that morphs your brain, it's how you react to that failure. That's why optimism towards failure is so crucial to increase your chances of success in the future. And so as I was graduated, went into my full-time job in corporate America, and realizing that new opportunities brought new risks and new fears of failure. It's not just one thing that magically goes away. And March 2020 was a really, really tough time. And I'm sure all of you guys, that's not news to you. It was tough for everybody. And I realized that I was kind of just caught in the cycle of going to work, putting in the hours day in and day out. And I had this constant routine and I was exhausted. And I realized that I was so burnt out from feeling like I was running someone else's race and chasing someone else's dreams. I had dreams of pursuing public speaking even further, but I was so terrified of failure and of now my coworkers seeing me fail that I wouldn't even give myself the gift of dreaming those things because I was so scared of potentially failing. And in March 2020, when I was taken away from that typical routine of going to work, driving home, going to the gym, making dinner, go, day in and day out, I had a lot of time to sit and reflect and think about, like, what am I actually doing? And on a particularly stressful day, I had this overwhelming amount of clarity. And I had two questions that kept popping in my head. Why and for what? Why am I working so hard to impress these people and live up to these expectations that I thought had been placed on me? And why am I not trying to pursue my dreams? Why am I so scared of risking failure that I can't even show who I am or what I'm dreaming about? And if I'm not pursuing something that makes me happy, then what's even the point? Because I thought about pursuing public speaking further. I had even been offered gigs, but I turned them down because in my head, I was so convinced. I'm like, yeah, but I can never do that. And I'm probably going to fail. So you know what? That's okay. That's for somebody else. But that's a really sad way to live. And I realized that I had a choice. I could continue the same routine of day in and day out and just trying to please other people, but not pleasing myself. Or I could pursue failure boldly and see what happens on the other side. Because let me let you in on a little secret. You're going to fail. And you're going to fail again and again and again. But each time you fail, after you dust yourself off, figure out what happened. If it's something that you desire within you, you're going to keep going and you're going to figure it out. So the point is that failure will always feel better than regret. And you have to go after your dreams. The difference between a dream and a success story is that single pivotal moment where you decide to actually go for it. So my advice is this: when those fears of, do I actually have what it takes? Can I do this? Come in, give yourself the gift of dreaming, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Before you think about all these things that could go wrong, just give yourself 5 minutes of living in that dream, thinking, what if this did work out for me? What if I did figure it out? And what if this became a reality? Because let's be honest, Life is going to throw us curveballs. Last year certainly showed us that. So when life does drop a so-called boombox, what are you going to do? Are you going to be the one sitting in the audience watching other people on stage living their dreams? Or are you going to be that person that's getting on that stage and dancing? Thanks, Rob. I'll pass it back to you.
That was amazing. I had the tissues out, the pizza effect, the whole thing. That was so good. And for all the people asking, it will be here on this event page and available and elsewhere for sure. That was, Jennifer, 100% agree. Super powerful. And thank you so much. Before I let you go, Lauren, one question for you. How are you going to keep this sort of energy level going up? And add-on question is, what's your favorite topic for speaking when people go to hire you?
Yeah, so I would say as far as my favorite speaking topic is talking about failure. I've realized that it's, we don't talk about failures enough. You hear about all these awesome entrepreneurs and you hear about they've made it and you think they just waved a wand and they happen to be there, but you don't often hear about all those missteps that they had along the way. So I try to kind of bring that out because, we've all screwed up, and it's the more that we can put it out there, the more relatable it is and the more achievable those dreams seem.
Lauren, I can't thank you enough for joining. I can't wait to see what you do next, and looking forward to hearing your virtual and in-person keynote talks. Thank you so much. Very grateful for you.
Rob.
Wow. So there you have it. A lot of questions in the feed. We've got Justin Wen coming up in a second, but let me just say this. A lot of people are asking. I know we've got a really good mix of students and younger people restarting the career, people unemployed, and a lot of people that are, more senior level that are in companies. So keep the questions coming. We'll try to get to all of them the best we can, of course. But a couple little nuggets here. If you go ahead and follow the Do Work Project page, you're on the event, so you could easily go follow the page. There is going to be next week, going to do another live stream in office hours for Get Hire, and it's just going to be me solo. I might try to get my son Shane Humphrey to jump in there with me. He's an expert on hustling hard and dreaming big. So definitely going to have some follow-ups coming up. But let me bring in Justin here if he's still with us. Justin, thanks for joining.
What's going on? No, thank you so much for having me, Rob.
Of course, man. Listen, I'm going to let you get at it because you're the number one person that I know for advice for people in college and, looking for a job. So, the biggest question out there is, how do I get experience without having a lot on my resume? I'm going to hand it over to you, man.
100%. I remember I graduated 2 years ago, and during that time, I was looking for internships and jobs. And I remember the hardest thing looking at these internships and jobs was looking at the experience required section and just thinking to myself, what the heck is going on right now? Right? It's like you trying to get an internship that's supposed to be your first step, and they say, oh, it requires 1 year, 2 years, 3 years of work experience. And you're like, what? How am I supposed to even get that experience on my resume to even stand out? So this whole thing, I'm going to be as quick as possible because I know we want to get out at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm going to give some very quick cheat codes into how you can get that experience, whether you're a college student looking for an internship or your entry-level job, or even if you're later on in your career and you're looking to really transition into that next step or a different industry. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is, you might not have heard of them before, but check out theforge.com. And basically what they are is they do free virtual work experience, and you can basically put JP Morgan, Microsoft, KPMG, and so many more companies onto your resume by completing some of the work that is on their website. It sounds too good to be true, but I promise you, I've looked at their stuff. I've worked with them on some of the stuff with Declassified College, and they are legit. Just so go ahead and check that stuff out if you need some experience to beef up your resume. The second thing is certifications. Now, these are like marketing, computer science, things of that nature. Pretty much every single industry or in job that you're looking to get into, you can probably get some sort of certification to get into that job. For instance, I had a friend who dropped out the last semester, and instead of just sitting at home playing Xbox or whatever, he went out and just did certifications and took online courses. And he's in the world of the computer science world, and he took a cybersecurity certification, and he actually got a job offer from Walmart with 6 figures, and he didn't even graduate college. So for everyone who's kind of doubting certifications, they are there, especially if you get the right ones. And it's another great way to sort of stand out on your resume, especially if you can get a certification that is highly coveted and not many people have. So those are the first two. The third one is another company called Parker Dewey. So the first two things, the Forge is free, and then certifications are usually free, but some of them you have to pay for to like take the test and everything. Parker Dewey is free for you, and you can also get paid to do it. And it's basically this new term that's starting to be coined called micro internships. And it's super cool. I wish they had these back when I was in college. But basically, instead of a company committing to training you for 10 to 15 weeks, that can cost them a lot of money. And it's really risky on their end because they don't know if you're going to be a good hire or not. Basically, what Parker Dewey does is they partner up with companies, big and small, to offer project-based internships. And these project-based internships can be anything from data entry to building a small project with the team. And this will allow you to get some work experience that you can put onto your resume, get to involve yourself with that company without having a long-term commitment. And that allows you to be able to witness company culture, see if that's going to be a good fit for you before you accept or even apply to that long-term internship or anything like that. So the last thing that I have on my list of cheat codes before we jump in, because I know I want to give everyone time to ask some of the questions, not only to myself, but all of the great speakers that we had speak before me, is if you've done all of these things, that is amazing. But the last thing that you need to do is you need to build a project. And what do I mean by a project? A project is something that you're building on the side that can involve your passion. It could be something as similar to Do Work, and it could be something like what I'm building, Get Your Grind Up. And the reason that I say that is because when you're putting these things on your resume, you are showing, which is great. Anyone can show, anyone can fake show. What you want to be able to do is you want to tell. And if you're able to tell and show someone that you can actually do it in person and you have something tangible to show them, that will mean the world, rather than you just saying, hey, I know how to use Microsoft Excel on your resume. Actually sending someone a Microsoft Excel sheet or being able to showcase that you can do a financial analysis on a spreadsheet means so much more and can really help you stand out amongst all of the other applicants, especially when you're doing those informational interviews and you that Gabe was talking about earlier. You can take that informational interview, talk to them about all of your projects that you're building on the side, and you never know where that conversation is going to lead from there. So I'll end off with this last little story because I know some people doubt of these like projects actually working and everything. So before I graduated, I actually landed a job offer to do consulting at one of the big 4 companies. And that's sort of one of the most highly coveted jobs coming from a business school. And I was coming from a school that's not necessarily a top tier university at all. I graduated from the University of Central Florida, which is the second largest school, but it's not like a Harvard or Stanford or anything like that. During my interview, I think I did a terrible job on the case studies and everything like that. But what I did well was I actually built Get Your Grind Up on the side during all of this. And I was able to speak about how I was interacting with all of these other companies, getting huge name guests onto the show, and talk about this actual experience that I had rather than just having a good GPA or joining a few clubs on campus. And I believe that that's the number one thing that helped me stand out to actually get that job offer upon graduation. And side note, the number one thing too is when I was talking to the recruiter, I actually got her to subscribe to the Get Your Grind Up podcast. And I knew from then I would definitely get an interview. So for all of you out there that are debating on building something, you have the skills. You just need to be able to showcase those to employers. And then the rest is history. Get those jobs and get those internships. It's not as hard as you think. You just have to put in the work and get your grind up.
Yeah, you got a lot of people out there now saying, "Oh, it's not that, it's impossible, right?" But it's not. Listen, you've done it. You've helped literally a ton of people do it, and that's what your mission is. Like, listen, man, I think Justin, this is great advice. We've got a bunch of questions. I want to hit you with a couple. One is from Shelly on the idea of certifications you suggest. I got my own ideas, but if you were looking for some kind of certification or course to be taking now in this marketplace, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in marketing, right, you can get the Google Analytics certification, the HubSpot certification. There are a slew of different certifications that you can get. But if you're in the tech space, I would say anything cybersecurity right now. We've done an episode on our podcast where we've talked, I mean, obviously the example of my friend, but we've talked to other people in this industry where if you can get one of the specific certifications, I don't know off the top of my head, you can literally land a 6-figure job without even having a degree. So those certifications are out there. It's more about doing the work and finding the right one for you. Because even if you get all these certifications, if you don't know how to leverage them in a conversation and even getting those informational interviews, then it doesn't necessarily matter. You have to be able to get that certification in front of the right people.
For sure. To add on to that, I will say this, like the digital marketing stuff, for sure. Like if I were going to college right now or deciding to go to college, I would focus all my energy, or it doesn't even matter if you're going to college. I don't care who you are. If you could figure out, and it's not that hard, how to learn Google, marketing tactics, but even more importantly, LinkedIn. Like, I'm not saying that because I work there, but if you could figure out LinkedIn's campaign manager tool, learn how to do paid marketing and organic marketing, come up with creative ideas, and deploy them, as you're saying, show your work, you really can get the skills that can help you get paid. And that's really what it's all about. A lot of people are, nervous about that because they think they've got to stick with that linear path. But it's not true. So listen, Justin, we're just about out of time, but here's what I want to do. I want to bring everyone back. I've got a couple questions. I'll do a quick rapid fire question to the whole group. We'll see if we can get some joint knowledge. Thanks for everyone for coming back in here. Listen, so I've got a lot in my mind. You guys are my inner circle, and I've got a couple questions. And I've got a daughter graduating high school, and I'm just going to say this. I want a thumbs up or thumbs down. Gap year or go to college next fall? Just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Gap year? Okay. Let's answer some of the questions in here in the feed here. Let's just round robin a couple of these. Creative types. Now, you all, I'd say, are creatively entrepreneurial. You're all doing really interesting creative things. There's a lot of people that I know in particular. They're like, how do I get my work in front of the right people? Let's go to you, Emily, first. What's the quickest way to show your work, especially if you're a creative?
For a creative person, I used to field a lot of questions about how do I get people to look at my portfolio. And the first thing I would always tell them is actually the tactic that Gabe pointed out, which is to find people that they admire working in the industry and essentially ask them about their portfolio. And then in the process, inevitably, the other artist wants to speak to the other artist, or the other creative wants to speak to the other creative and says, well, show me your stuff. Okay, we've talked about my stuff. So I think that that's the best way to do it. And then also playing off of what Justin shared, have a project that showcases it, right? If it's clean, organized, and easy to access, people are much more likely to look at it, right? Don't bury it under a pile of explanation and qualifiers. Show your best work and make it easy to find.
Right on. This is for you, Lauren. You've been doing you did a lot of writing. One of the things I thought was the most awesome about you. What's your advice for college students in particular that are graduating now? How can they leverage writing to move ahead?
Yeah, I would say for me, my best thoughts usually don't come when I'm sitting at the computer forcing myself saying, okay, I need to write something. Usually they come at the most random times, whether I'm driving, in the shower, have the best shower thoughts. But anyways, I say don't make it too complicated. You can keep it really simple and just share your thoughts on a particular topic. If you're like, okay, I don't want to write an entire blog quite yet, find an article that you find interesting and share your own point of view on it. Any form of writing, just to kind of start practicing that, is super, super helpful.
Justin, the LinkedIn profile, it's a resume or it's not? What's your perspective on that?
It should be a landing page. If I go to your LinkedIn right now and all I see is that you're a student at a university, I don't know what you can do to help me out if I'm a recruiter. So the instant I go to your landing page, I should be able to say and tell how you can help my company, what's your experience, and then an interesting story to really keep me involved so I don't click off to the next page. Those are the three main things that you need on your profile to turn it into a proper landing page.
Gabe, got a question for you. You went from community college to getting a degree at Stanford to working for the #1 tech company in the world. What is the one piece of wisdom on how you made that happen that you're gonna leave today?
Yeah, fall forward. So they were saying earlier about failing and whatnot. When you fail, just make sure if you're going to trip, just go forward. That's it. So stand up, dust yourself off, and keep going. That's it.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. So we're gonna round robin this one, and then next week I'm gonna do a live stream, and I'm gonna talk about networking in a pandemic, how to do it, why you shouldn't be scared about it, and why maybe it sounds scary, but it's really not, right? But networking during a pandemic, quick hit advice, and then we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna go to you first, Kim. What's your best advice on networking during a pandemic?
Do it. Step out of your comfort zone and just send the in-mails. Make sure you're following Gabe's advice and make sure that the in-mails are talking to the person that you are reaching out to in a way that's intentional and thoughtful, but send the in-mail. Do it. If you're on LinkedIn, do it. If you're sending a tweet or a DM, do it. Again, keep it clean, keep it concise, but make sure you're doing it.
Emily, I need to network with some people in a pandemic. I don't even know where to start. What's the starting point? How do I start?
A lot more groups, interest groups, professional groups are meeting online now. And so that information is out there. And I'd say start, showing up online. It means that you don't have to be in a particular geographical area. So find other groups who are networking online, be a part of that, and see who resonates with you. And reach out to them and build connections.
Right on. So listen, I'm going to let all of you guys go. I'm so grateful for you spending so much time and so much wisdom. I will put everyone's information in the event page so you can look all these folks up, give them a follow, give them a connection, however you want to do it. Thanks, guys, for joining. I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yo, listen, that is the start of my manifestation of my do work dream, which is to create modern career advice, help people get inspired, get them motivated, get hired. I'm so grateful for all my special guests that joined. I also want to give a special shout out to Jason Van Sant. I don't know if you're there, guy, if you could come into the picture so people can see you. Big respect. This is Jason. Jason, give everyone a quick shout out.
Hey, everybody. This is a joy and a privilege to be behind the scenes with Rob on the Do Work group chat or live stream that we've done here. I'm the producer of this. And so Rob and I have connected, and I'm super pumped to be here.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for helping me out so much, Jason. And then one other special person that's been helping me with the Do Work project single-handedly, Sydney Taylor. She's a University of Kentucky freshman, most creative person looking to create social impact. She's doing all the Do Work clips and videos and all the creative pursuits. Check out the Do Work page for more. And I'll see you next week in the Do Work office hours. Peace. Be safe.